Every object in your house is vibrating right now. The chair you're sitting in, the screen you're staring at, the bones in your hands. They look solid. They feel. At the atomic level, every single one of them is in constant motion, oscillating at frequencies you'll never see or hear. And the strangest part is that your emotions might be doing the exact same thing. Thousands of years before quantum physicists started measuring the oscillation of subatomic particles, a set of teachings emerged from ancient Egypt and Greece that claimed vibration was the fundamental nature of all reality. These teachings are called the Hermetic principles, attributed to a figure named Hermes Trismegistus. Whether he was one person, a composite of several thinkers, or a mythological construct is still debated. What matters is what the texts say. And the third principle, the principle of vibration, makes a claim so specific it's almost unsettling in hindsight. The principle states that nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. From the densest rock to the most abstract thought, all of existence is in a state of perpetual motion, and the only difference between one form of matter and another is the rate and mode of that vibration. Written down in a text called the Kybalion, published in 1908, but drawing on much older Hermetic traditions, this idea predates modern physics by centuries. And yet, when you line it up against what we now know about atomic structure, the overlap is hard to ignore. Every atom in the universe vibrates. Electrons orbit nuclei at speeds and frequencies that determine the properties of matter itself. The difference between iron and gold comes down to atomic structure and vibrational behavior. Solid, liquid, gas. These states are expressions of how fast molecules are moving. Heat something up and you increase its vibrational frequency. Cool it down and the vibration slows. The Hermetic teachers describe this same spectrum, stretching from dense matter at the low end to pure spirit or consciousness at the high end. They mapped reality as a single continuum of vibration, with everything you can touch sitting at one end and everything you can think sitting at the other. So, where do emotions land on that spectrum? Modern research on affect and mood has started measuring something adjacent to this idea. Emotional states carry distinct physiological signatures. Anger increases heart rate, raises skin temperature, and tightens muscles in the jaw and fists. Your entire body speeds up. Grief does the opposite. Heart rate variability drops, breathing slows, muscle tone collapses. You feel heavy, and the word heavy turns out to be more literal than poetic. The metabolic profile of a grieving person looks measurably different from someone experiencing joy or excitement. Researchers at Aalto University in Finland mapped where people feel emotions in their bodies by asking over 700 participants to color in body silhouettes based on where they felt activation or deactivation during different emotional states. The results were strikingly consistent across cultures. Anger lit up the upper body and fists. Sadness dimmed the limbs and concentrated in the chest. Happiness activated nearly the entire body. Love was almost indistinguishable from happiness, but with even stronger activation in the head and chest. These maps look like heat signatures. High-energy emotions spread wide and burn bright. Low-energy emotions pull inward and cool down. The Hermetic framework would describe this as a shift in vibrational frequency. A person experiencing joy vibrates at a higher rate, more activation, more movement, more energy radiating outward. A person in depression vibrates lower, less movement, less output, a kind of energetic contraction. The ancient language sounds mystical. The modern data looks clinical. They're describing the same phenomenon from opposite ends of a timeline separated by millennia. But this raises a question that most people skip right past. If emotional states have measurable energetic signatures, can you shift your frequency deliberately? The Hermetic texts say yes. They call it the principle of mentalism, which works alongside vibration. The idea is that consciousness itself is the primary substance of reality, and since vibration responds to mental focus, a trained mind can alter its own vibrational state. This sounds like magical thinking until you look at what happens during meditation. Studies on long-term meditators using EEG measurements show distinct changes in brainwave frequency during deep practice. Gamma waves, the fastest brainwave pattern associated with heightened perception and focus, increase dramatically. One study out of the University of Wisconsin-Madison found that experienced Buddhist monks produced gamma wave activity several times stronger than the control group, even when they weren't meditating. Their baseline frequency had shifted. The resting state of their brains operated at a measurably different rate than people who had never practiced. That's worth sitting with for a second. Their default changed. The monks hadn't just learned to feel calm during meditation. Their brains restructured over years of practice until the elevated state became the new normal. The Hermetic principle would frame this as raising your vibrational set point. Modern neuroscience would call it experience-dependent plasticity. The language differs, the observation converges. Now here's where it gets personal. You already know what it feels like to be around someone in a low vibrational state, even if you've never used that phrase. You walk into a room where someone is furious and you feel it before a word is spoken. Your shoulders tense, your breathing changes. Something in the atmosphere shifts. Conversely, certain people seem to carry calm with them like a weather system. You relax in their presence without deciding to. Researchers studying interpersonal physiology have documented this. Heart rates synchronize between people in close proximity. Breathing patterns align during conversation. Mothers and infants regulate each other's autonomic systems through physical closeness. The boundary between my emotional state and your emotional state is far more porous than we assume. You are, in a measurable sense, broadcasting a frequency, and the people around you are picking it up. The Hermetic tradition called this principle correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. Your internal state radiates outward and shapes your environment, which in turn feeds back into your internal state. It's a loop, and most people are running that loop on autopilot, letting external circumstances dictate their internal frequency, which then colors how they perceive and respond to those same circumstances. The spiral goes down as easily as it goes up. Breaking that cycle requires something the Hermetic texts emphasize repeatedly: conscious attention. The ability to observe your own state without being consumed by it. To notice that you've dropped into a low-frequency pattern, irritability, lethargy, and deliberately introduce a higher frequency input. Movement, music, breathwork. Focused attention on something that generates genuine engagement. This tracks with what clinical psychology calls behavioral activation, one of the most effective interventions for depression. The premise is simple. When someone is stuck in a low-energy state, waiting to feel motivated before taking action keeps them trapped. Action comes first. Feeling follows. You move your body before your body wants to move. You engage with something before engagement feels natural. The behavior shifts the physiology, which shifts the emotional state, which shifts the behavior. The loop reverses. The ancients described this as mastering your own vibration. Modern clinicians describe this as rutting a negative reinforcement cycle. Same loop, same lever, same result. Critics of the Hermetic framework argue, fairly, that mapping ancient metaphysical language onto modern physics is a stretch. Quantum vibration and emotional vibration operate at completely different scales and through different mechanisms. A subatomic particle oscillating at a specific frequency and a human feeling sad are different categories of phenomena. The word vibration is doing heavy lifting across a vast metaphorical distance. That objection has merit, precision matters, and sloppy conflation of physics with mysticism has produced entire industries of pseudoscience. And yet, the core observation, that everything in nature exists in a state of motion, that emotional states have measurable energetic profiles, that these states influence the people and environments around us, and that conscious practice can shift your baseline. All of this holds up under scrutiny. The Hermetic teachers may have lacked the instruments to measure what they were observing. They have the observation itself remarkably dialed in. You felt this in your own life. A week where everything seemed to flow, conversations clicked, decisions came easily, strangers smiled back. And a week where the opposite was true, where the same life felt heavier, slower, more resistant. The external circumstances may have been nearly identical between those 2 weeks. The difference was internal. The frequency you were operating at colored everything it touched. The Kybalion puts it this way: he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. That's dramatic language for a simple idea. Your emotional state is a frequency. Frequencies can be changed. And the tools to change them? Movement, attention, breath, environment, practice have been available for as long as humans have been alive. The question was never whether you could shift your frequency. The question is whether you'll keep letting it be set for you.